you know what else we love? We love having guests
on
the show.
We love having guests on our show.
Yeah.
And we do have one.
We do. Why don't you introduce the guest?
Well, we have James Dwyer on from Engel and Volkers. He's a realtor, and he's a fan of our show, which is awesome.
Well, he has to be. He
has
to say that or we won't let him on.
Yeah, maybe so. But we, really talk about the spring market. And, spring is such an interesting time when it comes to real estate, Todd.
Yep.
And I've heard stats that listings are up exponentially. So I want to hear from our realtor partner here, James, exactly what's going on and what he's seeing down on the ground. James, do we have you?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent. Give us a little rundown on what's going on here this spring market. I've heard there's been
Certainly.
a huge uptick in listings.
Yeah, compared to this time last year, we're up about 20% in listings right now. But at the same time, sales are up, median sale price is up, and what I'm seeing right now is basically marginal improvements over last year, but at the same time increasing inventory. So January, February, March, sales and new listings were kind of steady, even together. In the last 30 days or so, listings are definitely coming on strong now.
What parts of the community are perhaps hotter than others?
Well, essentially, the entry level stuff, first time home buyers, that stuff is just still, it's still red hot. New construction seems to be seeing a big uptick lately in sales and in new inventory. Also, too, Nova Scotia, one of the leading provinces right now in home building. So, that's also a bonus. So, it's definitely seeing some positive improvements over this time last year. Last year was, a pretty flat year, but this year, definitely seen marginal improvements for sure.
That's really interesting. We're certainly seeing it here on our end. Certainly some first-time home buyers are getting agreements, and people are just buying homes. It seems like the market is becoming more balanced. Would you agree, or are you still seeing, this situation where there's 20 offers on properties?
Yeah, interesting point, actually. It's a mixed bag when you kind of break it down by, like price points. So your entry-level properties, again, like I mentioned, red hot, still see multiple offers in that, but the mid-range stuff, or the upgrade, when you upgrade from or to, not as much, not as heavy with the competition. In most cases, single offer, buyer gets an opportunity to negotiate. I do see it as a good opportunity for those that do currently have starter homes, where they can kind of net out a higher sale price, and then have the luxury of being able to negotiate down a little bit on the next purchase. Interestingly enough, though, the higher end stuff is actually picking up quite well. That's 750 to $1 million seems pretty quiet at the moment. Do see a lot of that inventory coming online right now, with the exception of like areas like Bedford West doing quite well. Larry Tech area doing quite well. The new construction stuff in Timberley starting to do really well. So, it's area dependent, and when it comes down to what people are looking for and so forth, the entry level stuff is hot. Mid range stuff seems pretty good. Higher end stuff is really starting to pick up now.
All right, when you talk entry level, what price points are you talking here?
So, right now that entry level is sitting around that, $399 to $450 range. Pre-pandemic, these were your semi-detached houses, Timberley, Cole Harbor, Eastern Passage. They're in that ballpark. And interestingly enough, too, I've actually picked up on a couple of things over the last couple of months where, even though these properties are getting multiple offer situations, they're not going substantially over asking. So that's telling me that the buyers and the buyers' agents are educating their clients, and the buyers are paying attention to the market conditions. So, the house is listed at $399. Guess what? 10, 15 offers still only sell for $430, right? So, definitely seeing an uptick in that, a bit more of a conservative approach. And that's a good thing to see, right? Because, things kind of got really out of hand over the pandemic, and, the industry and the public have reacted accordingly.
I certainly agree. And I'm seeing a lot of offers that we're getting in, at least from our clients, that have conditions. It was really like Ontario here, I think, probably, the last couple of years where people were just throwing caution to the wind, having no conditions at all. I'm seeing inspections. I'm seeing financing conditions. And I think it's better for everyone. I think it's better for the seller, and I think it's honestly better for the buyer too.
Agreed. I mean, a balanced market is a very healthy thing to be having right now. Because like you mentioned, right, the seller's getting an opportunity to net out a good return on that home, and the buyer's getting the opportunity to do their due diligence, to do the hard work in those, first couple of weeks to really get an understanding of what they're purchasing so they can make an educated decision.
Is there anything in the 300 to 350 range, or are those, or do they not exist?
Well, the condo markets kind of filled that gap over the last little bit. They seem to be in that kind of area right now for the 2-bedroom apartment style condos. Hadn't really seen much of it on the entry level in HRM. Maybe if you're looking a little further out, Windsor would be an area that would have that.
Yeah, I think Windsor and Truro seem to be a hot kind of commodity right now, at least for first-time home buyers. We're seeing people that are moving kind of further out of the city to get those price points. And it's really interesting that you say about condos, because in other cities, those are typically the more affordable properties. Like when you think about Toronto, and if you're first-time home buyers, chances are they're probably buying a bachelor 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom condo. But in Halifax, those condos were the same price as buying a single-family home, but it's not anymore.
No, that's right. And essentially, the condo market kind of was quite soft pre-pandemic anyway. And you're right. Why would you buy a condo when you can afford, a beautiful home that's 20 minutes outside the city and on water for the same price, right? So now
it may be location. Maybe it's location right now, James. And I think maybe that's what the buyers are looking for. And we're seeing a lot of people that, are looking to buy a property, but they'd rather own a home than own a car. And I think maybe those are the ones that, a condo might be right for. I don't know.
But I'm also seeing, too, some creativity things that are starting to pop up now, especially with the younger demographics. I've seen young professional couples partner up with another young professional couple, buy a 2-bedroom condo or 3-bedroom condo with the intention of a short-term ownership, just to build up that nest egg a little bit, so that when they part ways in 3 to 4 or 5 years, they can go buy those homes that they were having their eye on now, right? So seeing that, I've seen a little bit more in that grouping together of people, right, to combine
3-4 borrowers
and make things exactly. Yeah. So we're starting to see some creativity in the marketplace under the conditions that we have, which I think is quite interesting.
I think that was the trend in Ontario 10 years ago. And we always say things take a lot longer to come to Halifax and Nova Scotia than they do in Ontario. People had it figured out a long time ago, and their affordability's been whacked for a long time. And still we're very affordable compared to them, but I think they had figured out that they needed multiple borrowers just to even qualify. So that's interesting. Go ahead.
Military families, so what can you tell us about people transferring in and buying homes, and is that still a pretty big cohort?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, our spring market kind of centers around that to kind of get the whole machine kind of moving forward. So, the industry conditions a lot of their, seller clients to prepare for the spring market and to prepare for that, wave of military families that do house hunting trips. We're starting to see that kind of trickle in and get a bit more consistent. Open houses seem to be a lot busier this time than what they were a month ago. The inquiries are definitely on the up and up, definitely on the up from outside the province. And again, military is a big factor in that. A lot of new Canadians kind of driving the market a little bit right now, and it's coming together.
That's very interesting. It sounds like you have a positive outlook. I think that if we were talking 3 months ago or 6 months ago, James, it might have been a different story. And we talk to so many realtors every day, and I think some people were really having more of a hard time. But it sounds like things have almost made a shift. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, it's not hard to beat the numbers from last year, if that makes any sense, right? So, And are we going to ever return to that level of volume that we've seen over the pandemic? Definitely not, right? So, I think, when you're looking at numbers like 2019, like pre-pandemic volume numbers and stuff like that, it's definitely in that realm, right? So it's more of a return to normal business. And I think, that's a big sigh of relief for everybody in the industry because, you know what, it's great to be busy, but at some point you're going to need a break from it all too, right? So things are a lot more manageable, and I think that's a win-win for the consumer.
I agree. I was so fortunate to be asked by your association, Nova Scotia Association of Realtors, to sit on a panel here not that long ago when you guys had your big annual meeting at the Nova Center.
Mm-hmm.
And, I said to the crowd there, it feels like we're back in 2019. And you know what?
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for it. And, it was so breakneck in 2020, 2021, 2022.
Yeah.
2019 was balanced but busy.
Yeah.
And, I think that that's okay for everyone. My real concern is we have so many people sitting on the sidelines. As soon as we hear this Bank of Canada reduce the key overnight rate, chaos will ensue. I don't know. The clients that you're working with, have you heard any of that action where they're kind of like sitting and waiting? Because that is certainly a concern on my end, that as soon as these rates soften, it's just the activity is going to become out of control again.
Well, to take that a step further, I think that the consumer, you're right, it is kind of, focused around that interest rate announcement. And as well, it's also a signal too, right? Any bit of a softening on the interest rate side is, strengthens confidence for the consumer and more importantly in the economy. So things like job security, and moving forward and making plans for the future start to become a bit more solidified, right? And so I suspect that the second half of this year, in comparison to previous years in second half, will be a pretty good one this year.
Okay, James, appreciate it very much. Good stuff as always.
All right, my friend.
Thanks,
take care for now.
All right, take care. That's James Dwyer.
If you've liked what you've heard and you want to learn more, feel free to visit us online at teamclinton.ca.